In this episode, I'll explain how color impacts black and white photos.
AdoramaTV presents Digital Photography One-on-One, where we answer your questions. Here's your host, Mark Wallace.
Hi everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Digital Photography One-on-One. Well, we've got a great question this week from Prague, and this one comes from Andre. Andre asks, can you please give me some advice on how to convert color photos to black and white? Well, Andre, that's a great question, and specifically, we've already talked about how to light for black and white photography, and we did that in episode 67, but what we didn't talk about is the post-production process, and a lot of people have written in a similar question. They're asking specifically about color channels and what those are and why that's important to know about them for converting photos to black and white. And so the best way to explain this is just to show it to you, so let's head over to the studio and take a look. All right, well, let's talk about how color affects our conversions to black and white. Now, to help out, what I've done here is I have 4 plates on the table, and these plates are blue, and I've got green, and I have red, and yellow. Missed totally. Anyway, these plates are going to help us to show how different color channels can be mixed so you can get darker and lighter sections in your photo, not by changing the shadows and highlights and midtones, but by specifically targeting colors. And to really help out, what we've done here is on the plates we have labels, so you know which plate is blue, which one's green, which one's red, and which one's yellow, because we might not be able to tell when we do our conversion. So I'm going to have that there. Now, the other thing I have here is a color checker passport, and as we go along, I'm going to have to show you even more advanced things where we have more colors than just our plates, and so that's why I have this, because it has lots of different color patches. And then also, to take a picture of this and make it look good, our video lights are messing everything up. So you can't see it, but off screen, I have a studio strobe, and that's being triggered with my Pocket Wizard Plus 3, so that's why that's on there. And also, I am tethered, and so I'm shooting into Lightroom. And the reason I'm using Lightroom is to easily explain how we can mix and match all of these different colors to get a good black and white conversion. Now, I could have used Aperture or Photoshop or any number of applications, but Lightroom is very popular and I like it, and so that's what we're going to use. But these principles still apply no matter what photo editing software you use. So let's dive right in. So the first thing I want to do is take a nice tight shot of all of these plates right here. So I'm going to stand back and I'm going to zoom in here to my plates, and I'm going to get a shot of my blue, green, red, and yellow plates. And that's going to zip through my FireWire or my USB cable into Lightroom here. And here it is. Here's our photo, and we can see we have blue, red, green, and yellow. And then I'm going to go into my Develop module where I can convert this to black and white. Now, almost any photo editing software package has some presets, and sometimes the presets look good and sometimes they don't look so good. So let's find out why that is the case. So what I'm going to do here is on the left hand side, I've got all my little presets in Lightroom, and I'm just going to go in here and click on high contrast, black and white high contrast. And notice how the red, blue, and green look okay, but the yellow looks totally overexposed. If I go in here to look 1, red and blue look very similar. You can't really tell the difference in tonality. If I go in here to look 4, notice that now blue and green, those two colors look almost identical, and red and yellow are different. And so based on how the colors are mixed, you can get a very drastically different looking image. So I'm going to reset this, put it back to color, and what I'm going to do is, instead of using a preset, I'm going to manually adjust everything. So on the right hand side here, I've got this black and white button right here, and I click on that, and it converts it to black and white using a default setting. And what I want to do is really tweak this. And so to do that, I'm going to get rid of this left-hand panel here so we can see more of the image. Notice that we can see that the blue and green plates, they look almost identical. We can't really tell the difference between those two colors. Red and yellow do look different. Now, what I can do here is right underneath this black and white tab, you'll notice we have this thing called black and white mix. This will be called different things in different applications, but essentially what we're doing is we're saying take red and make it darker or brighter, or take yellow and make it darker or brighter, or green or aqua or blue or purple or magenta, etc. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first start with green. So I'm going to target this plate, and notice I can make just that plate darker or brighter, which is pretty cool. Or I can go to blue, and I can make the blue plate darker or brighter. Now, one of the things that's really important to understand is that your color temperature is going to affect how this works. So for example, I'm going to go up here to the yellow plate, and so I'm on yellow. I'm making it brighter and darker, and that works just great. So if our color temperature is off, in other words, it's not set right, we could have issues. Now, you can use this to your advantage sometimes if you want to actually tweak some things in a way that doesn't lend itself. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So right now, our color is set to 4950, but what I can do is I can take and add in a little bit more of this amber here, and when I do that, watch what happens when I start taking this yellow up and down. Notice how it takes not just the yellow, but more of the table. And if I take this color temperature and make it even brighter or higher color temperature, as I change that yellow, notice that more of the image is being changed, not just that plate. And so the same thing is true if I take this color temperature and I make it really low, so we're adding more blue to that. Obviously now, if I go to the blue channel and start mixing, notice that the entire image is now changing, not just the plate. And so it's really important to understand how color temperature affects all of the colors, and because all of those colors are changed, then if there's more blue, then not just the blue things, but everything will start to get darker and brighter, or just the amber, everything will get darker and brighter. So it's really important to understand that either make sure your color temperature is set correctly, or fudge it so you can control more of an image, not just one specific color. Well, now that we have this, let me show you another trick in Lightroom really fast. What you can do is there's this little dot right here. When you click on that, now you can just go to your image, and whatever you click on, that specific color is going to change. So now I'm changing green. I'll go up here and change red, and you can see how we can make different colors brighter or darker, and that's really cool. But we need to know more than that. What we really need to do is understand how the colors affect contrast, because when we have a really nice black and white image, we want the blacks to be absolutely black, and we want the whites to be absolutely white, or as close to that as possible. But what we need to do is we need to understand if we want the yellows to be white in the image, or we want the blues to be the blacks. We need to choose which colors map to which tone. And so what I'm going to do to explain that, I'm going to take my color checker passport, I'm going to put it right in the middle of all these plates. So I've got all these colors, and I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to take a nice shot of this. So we'll have the color checker, we'll have the plates, we'll have some of the table. So that's going to pop in here. So I'm going to zip in, and here now we have this image. You can see this is nice and colorful. We have all this stuff. Let me go into the develop module very, very quickly and show you a couple of things. So first, we're going to convert this to black and white, just like we did before by clicking the black and white button. And so now we have that. Now up here, we see this histogram. This histogram is going to help us. It's going to be our guide. And to understand more about the histogram, make sure you watch episode 33. So I'm going to assume that you know how to read a histogram. If you don't, watch episode 33 of Digital Photography One-on-One, and it will help you understand this. Now what I'm going to do here is I really want to make sure that we have blacks that are absolutely black and whites that are absolutely white. And if I look, we can see that we do have some blacks, not a lot, but we don't have any whites. And so I could just make an adjustment with my exposure, or I could do a contrast change to sort of spread that out. But what I'm not controlling is which parts of the image are becoming darker and which parts of the image are becoming brighter. And I can really do that, and I can affect change using my color sliders. So watch how this happens. The other thing I'm going to do here, just so you understand what is losing detail, is I can turn on these little triangles, and those will tell me if something is underexposed and there's no detail, it'll show up as blue. And if something is overexposed and there's no detail, that will show up as red. So I have these little guides to sort of help us out here. So I'm going to put the exposure back to how I shot it. And then what I'm going to do is I want to start changing some things. So this yellow plate here, I don't like that. It's too light for me. So I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to start bringing that down and see how I can bring that in. And so now it's sort of a middle gray. On the color checker passport, you can see how those colors are changing. Notice on the lower part of the passport, you can see that not just that plate, but other colors are changing. I can go in here and say I want this table to be a little bit brighter, but oh no, look what's happening. It's also lightening my yellow plate. So what I can do is I can go up to my white balance. I can take some of that amber out of there. I can add in a little tint so it's got a little bit more less of the green, and so then I can go back down I can start making changes based on color, and notice now I'm only affecting the plate, not the background. These two plates down here, the blue and the green, I need to change those. I want that to be a little darker. I'm doing that. I'm going to bring this one up a little brighter. So you can see how I can really control what's going on in my image to make it a little bit nicer. Now I still don't have any lights. I don't have any absolute whites, but now I can start working with my lights slider here to add more contrast. That looks good. And I'm going to bring the darks in just a little bit. I like that. I'm going to bring my highlights up. So I'm really getting this high contrast image here, but it's controlled not just saying all blacks go down and all whites go up. I'm saying specific colors become lighter and darker, and that helps me get more control, and it produces a more pleasing image. Okay, well, now that we know how important color is to black and white conversions, what I want to do is put that into practice. And so Sharon has helped me out. She's our model today, and we've already shot a series of photos on this red background. And Sharon brought with her different types of outfits. So we have some red and blue and some gold colored outfits, and we're going to use those to show you that depending on what a model is wearing and what the scene is, it's really important to be aware of color. So as you convert to black and white, you can control very specific parts of an image. Okay, well, I'm in Lightroom 3 right now, and I've taken 4 of the images that I shot, one from each set. So we have 4 different shirt colors here. And I want to quickly show you how this will impact our black and white conversions. And so first, let's start with the obvious one. This is a red shirt on a red background. And so what we're going to do here is go into the Develop module. And so I've got my Develop module here on the right. And in each of these images, by the way, I've created a snapshot right here that says starting point. And so that way, if I do any kind of wackiness here and change things and really get off track, I can always go back here and just click starting point to bring us right back where we started in case. So if you see me do that, that's what I'm doing. Okay, well, what I want to do first here is take this image, and I have a bright red shirt and a dull red background. We're going to convert this to black and white, and we can do that in one of 2 ways in Lightroom. On the very top here, there's this thing that says treatment, and I can click either color or black and white to change between editing in black and white or color. Or I can also scroll down here, and then here on my sliders, my hue, saturation levels, color, and black and white. If I just click black and white, it does exactly the same thing. It takes me back into a black and white treatment, and so that's what I'll be using from here on. Now what I want to do here is show you that when I click on this color here, this is a red, remember we had that, it's a red color right there. When I click on that, and I'm going to click on that using this little dot right here, what this allows me to do is instead of adjusting using these sliders, I can just click on this. Now I have a tool, and wherever I click and then drag up or down, it affects that color. And so you can see that I'm affecting the red, and that works pretty well, but if you look closely, the background is also changing. And if I happen to select a brighter toned red, you'll see even more of that background changing. And most importantly, if I just want to control the background, notice the shirt comes along with any adjustment I make. And so if I have an image where I know I want to adjust things independent of each other, it's really important for me to make sure that I choose a background and foreground color that are opposite, or whatever I want to control independently. So this has too much red. It's got a red background, a red little line right here, red lipstick, red top. And then, of course, our skin tones have red in them, and so this isn't a wise choice of color. So let's look at a better choice of color. And what we have here is blue instead of red, and this will really give us a lot of different options here. So once again, I'll convert this to black and white. And now when I click over here, so I'm going to click on this so I can directly click and drag. Now I'm just selecting the blue, and notice I can control the shirt totally independent of everything else, which is really nice. So if I want to darken that up, that's great. If I want to lighten up this background, that's going to work really well. If I want to change her skin tone, I can do that. And so I really have a lot of control of what's happening in this image. I can change her hair. And so we've got all kinds of really nice image control. I want to make this a little darker. And there you have it. And so having contrasting colors like that really help. And there's another thing, though, we can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here to my starting point, reset that. So we're back in full color mode. And I want to show you these two images side by side here. So I've got both shirts. And notice that this shirt is blue. This shirt is also blue, but this is a lighter tone of blue. And so what that allows us to do, I'll go in here to the Develop module. I'm just going to click this to black and white. I'm going to go to that previous picture that we just edited. Also click that to black and white. And I'm just using the default levels that it gives us, the default conversion. When I put those side by side, notice that this blue is a lighter tonality than this blue. And so we can start not only giving ourselves the option of having an easier image editing ability by having blue against red or red against blue, etc., but we can also make sure that our black and white images are going to have a starting point that is nice by choosing different shades of blue or red. So some are lighter and some are darker. And so if I knew I wanted this to be a darker image, I would choose a dark blue instead of just a light blue. And so that's also important. All right, I want to show you one more thing here. And this is specific to the reds that we have in this image. When we look at this image, it looks like we have this gold top here. We have gold hair on our model, and we have a red background. And so it looks like we would be able to control these independent of each other. And it also looks like if we try to do something here on this shirt, it's also going to affect our hair. But the truth is, these look similar, but they're not extremely similar. So if I hop over to the Develop module, I'm going to go here and I'm going to grab this little eyedropper here. And the eyedropper is going to allow me, when I hover over a color, to tell me what the mix is. So as I'm hovering over this gold, we can see that the red channel has 88, the green is 83, and the blue is 76. So we have more red than anything else, but just slightly more than green and a little bit more than blue. And so it's very close to an equal mix. The blue channel is a little bit lower. If we look at her hair, notice that we have red is a little bit higher than green. So it's also similar, but we do have a little bit more of an equal mix on the top than we do on the hair. And then on the back, you can see that we have significantly more red than anything else. So what we'll do here, let me show you a practical example of why this is important. So when I zip in here to the black and white conversion, the first thing we notice is because this is such a light color, we are losing a lot of detail in this shirt. And so what I would normally do is say, oh, okay, I'm just going to mix the color and take that down. But notice as I try to take this down, what I'm getting is the background is coming along with me because the reds are what I'm converting here, the reds and the oranges. And so both of those have similar combinations of color. And so I'm not getting the result that I would expect. Even if I choose something else, it's just giving me a nasty result. So what I can do, I'm going to go back here to our starting point, is I can fool this image into doing something a little bit differently. And so color temperature in a color image, if I really take this up, it really makes it look disgusting. If I take it down, everything looks really cool and blue. And so what I want to do here, and also notice this red, these red patches mean that we're losing detail in these areas of the image. So just by moving this to a warmer color temperature, I'm actually overexposing these areas. And so we can use this trick in our black and white conversion to do some really interesting things. So I'm going to go back to our starting point. What I'm going to do here is go back and convert this to black and white just by clicking black and white there. And what I want to do is first bring in some of this color, or bring in some of this detail in this shirt. So I'm going to do that by first forcing our color temperature to be really high, so higher than I shot. And when I do that, the entire image is overexposed. We're losing detail. So then I'll take our exposure. I'm going to bring that down. And now I've brought a lot of that detail back into the shirt. But by switching this color temperature to make it so hot, I've actually changed the colors. And so now I should be able to work on the background independent of the shirt because I changed the color mixture. So let's see if that actually is the truth. So I'll go in here. I'll grab the background. And I'll start bringing that up. It looks pretty good. And I can start playing with this stuff. It looks really good. And so now if I'm moving the orange, I'm moving a lot of the entire image. And by moving the red, I'm just touching this background. And so that way it helps me pull just a little bit of that red out of this shirt. And so I have a little bit finer control over what's happening. Now another thing here to note, there's a lot of work we'd have to do on her eyes. But specifically, we have an issue with the lips. Because these lips have red lipstick, when we go in here and we adjust the background, we're also adjusting her lips. And so that's something that we would not want to do. And so what we would do if we had a great makeup artist, or if if you had somebody that could do this for you. When you do have your makeup artist put on makeup for black and white, or if you're doing this yourself, you may want to put on makeup that doesn't look very good in color. Specifically in this example, we would have used a darker color, maybe a blue or a green on her lips. And so then we change this to black and white. When we change the background, we wouldn't also be coloring her lips as well. So those are some tricks that you can use when you're adjusting photos from color to black and white. Well, that's all we have time for today. Remember, we've already talked about some of this stuff in previous episodes, so if you want to know more about the histogram, make sure you check out episode 33. And to learn about the color checker, make sure you watch episode 209. And if you missed our episode on lighting for black and white, that is episode 67. And you can find all of these episodes at the Adorama Learning Center, or you can just check out our Digital Photography One-on-One playlist on YouTube. And we also have everything in iTunes as well. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode, because they're all wonderful. Well, thanks again for joining us. Remember, if you have a question about photography, you can send that to me at AskMark@Adorama.com.
This episode is brought to you by AdoramaTV. Visit the Adorama Learning Center, where you'll find photography tips and techniques, links to the gear used in this episode, and related videos. For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. And the next time you're in New York City, visit our store, located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue.
Andre asks, these are just normal party plates? Yeah! I'm gonna fall off. Yeah, that's good.
Don't really, I'll fire it. Jeez, he can't do it. He just can't.
Digital Photography One-on-One is written and produced by Snap Factory. For more information about our workshops, visit snapfactory.com.